Have you ever had one of those days where you haven't said a single word, haven't cried, haven't done anything to show that something is wrong, and yet your dog walks over, puts their head in your lap, and just stays there? Like they knew, like they could feel it before you even admitted it to yourself. That's not a coincidence. And it's not magic. What your dog is doing in that moment is something so deeply wired into their biology, so ancient and precise, that scientists are only now beginning to fully understand it. And what they've discovered will completely change the way you see your dog. Because here's the truth most people never stop to think about. Your dog may understand your emotional world better than most humans in your life do. Not because they're trying to, but because they were shaped over thousands of years to read you, to feel you, to respond to the invisible signals your body sends out before your mind even catches up. So if you've ever wondered why your dog always seems to find you at your lowest moments, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share isn't just fascinating. It's going to make you look at your dog and feel something you haven't felt before. Let's start with something you probably never think about: your smell. Every single emotion you experience changes your body chemistry. When you feel anxious, your cortisol levels spike. When you're sad, the chemical composition of your sweat literally shifts. When your heart starts racing from stress or grief, your body releases a cocktail of hormones that radiate outward through your skin, your breath, your pores. To you, these changes are invisible. You can't smell your own stress. You can't detect your own sadness in the air. But your dog can. A dog's nose contains roughly 300 million olfactory receptors. Yours has about 6 million. That means their sense of smell is anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than yours. They don't just smell the world differently, they experience it differently. While you see a room with your eyes, your dog is reading that same room like a detailed story written in scent. And that story includes you. All of you. Your mood, your health, your fear, your grief. It's all there, broadcasting constantly, whether you want it to be or not. Researchers at the University of Naples found that dogs could accurately identify human emotional states through scent alone, with no visual or behavioral cues at all. The dogs in the study changed their own behavior, becoming more anxious or more calm, simply based on the emotional odors they were exposed to. They weren't guessing, they were reading. But smell is only the beginning. Think about the last time you were really upset. Maybe you were sitting quietly, scrolling your phone, trying to hold it together. You weren't crying. You weren't talking. You thought you were doing a pretty good job of keeping it together. And then your dog walked in and came straight to you. What they noticed wasn't just your scent. They were watching you with a precision that would make most behavioral scientists jealous. The tiny tension in your jaw, the way your shoulders sat slightly higher than normal, the subtle change in how your chest rose and fell with each breath, the fact that you were still, too still, in a way that felt different from your normal resting stillness. Dogs have evolved to read human microexpressions, the fleeting, involuntary flashes of emotion that cross our faces in fractions of a second, too fast for most people to consciously register. They watch the left side of your face in particular, because that's where human emotion is more strongly expressed. They notice a downward pull at the corner of your mouth that lasts less than half a second. They register the faint furrow of your brow before it fully forms. They are, in the truest sense of the word, reading you constantly, even when they look like they're just lying there doing nothing. And here's where it gets even more remarkable. Scientists have discovered that when a dog looks at a person they're bonded with, both the person's and the dog's oxytocin levels rise. Oxytocin is the hormone associated with love, trust, and deep emotional connection. The same chemical surge that happens between a mother and her newborn baby, between two people falling in love, between you and your dog when they simply look at you. This isn't a one-sided relationship. Your dog doesn't just detect your sadness, they feel a version of it. Studies show that dogs can catch human emotions, a phenomenon researchers call emotional contagion. When you are distressed, your dog's stress hormones also rise. When you feel calm, they feel calm. They are so deeply synchronized with your emotional state that your inner world literally becomes part of theirs. Think about what that means. That dog sitting next to you on your worst night wasn't just reacting to a signal. They were sharing your burden in the only way they know how. Now, some people push back on this. They say dogs are just trained to respond to certain behaviors. They say it's all conditioning, all learned patterns. And yes, your dog has absolutely learned your habits and routines. They know the sound of your car, the rhythm of your footsteps, the way you move when something is wrong. That's real, but it doesn't explain everything. Because dogs who have never been trained for emotional support still seek out distressed humans. Puppies with no life experience will approach a crying stranger over a calm one. Dogs who have grown up in stable homes with consistent owners suddenly change their behavior when their human is silently going through something painful, with no change in routine whatsoever. This isn't learned. This is instinct shaped over 15,000 years of living beside us. There's a study from the University of Lincoln that tested this directly. Strangers either hummed to themselves or pretended to cry in front of dogs they had never met before. The dogs overwhelmingly approached the crying strangers. They approached them with soft, submissive body language, not to play, not out of curiosity, but in a posture that behaviorists describe as comfort-seeking behavior directed outward. In other words, they were trying to help. A stranger, a human they had never met. And they still came. That is the kind of creature that has chosen to live beside us. But let's go even deeper. Because your dog doesn't just detect sadness after the fact. In many cases, they know before you do. Emotional shifts in the body don't begin with the feeling. They begin in the nervous system. Before you consciously register grief, before the thought even forms in your mind, your body is already changing. Heart rate, breathing, hormone release, skin conductance, all of it begins shifting in ways that are imperceptible to you, but not to your dog. Many dog owners report this exact experience. Their dog started acting strangely, staying close, being unusually gentle, and it was only hours later that the emotional weight they were carrying finally broke through to the surface. The dog knew first. The dog always knows first. This is why dogs are now being trained as psychiatric service animals, as PTSD companions, as emotional support animals in schools, hospitals, and crisis centers. Not because we taught them something new, but because we finally started paying attention to something they were already doing. And yet most of us walk past this every single day. We're too busy, too distracted, too caught up in what's on our screens or in our heads to notice that there is a being in our home who is paying more attention to our emotional well-being than almost anyone else in our lives. Your dog doesn't care about your job title. They don't care about your mistakes. They don't keep score. They don't hold on to the argument from 3 days ago. Every single time you walk into a room, they meet you exactly as you are in that moment. Not who you were yesterday. Not who they wish you would be. Exactly you, right now. And if you are hurting, they will find you. There's something else worth sitting with. The fact that your dog stays. In human relationships, emotional pain can make people uncomfortable. People look away, change the subject, say the wrong thing, slowly withdraw when things get heavy. We've all experienced that. We've all felt the loneliness of being in pain while the people around us don't quite know what to do. Your dog doesn't have that discomfort. They don't need to say the right thing. They don't need to fix it. They simply stay, pressed against your leg, head in your lap, warm and steady and present. And in some of our darkest moments, that has been enough. More than enough. Researchers studying human-dog bonds have found that the presence of a dog during emotional distress measurably reduces cortisol levels, lowers blood pressure, decreases heart rate, and activates the same neural pathways associated with human social support. In other words, your dog sitting with you when you're sad is not just comforting in a vague, emotional sense. It is physiologically healing. They are literally helping your body recover. You didn't ask them to. They don't get paid to. They don't do it because they're trying to be good. They do it because loving you is what they are. So the next time your dog wanders over without explanation and leans into you, before you've said a word, before you've even fully understood what you're feeling, take a breath. Let them in. Because in that quiet moment, that animal is offering you something most people struggle to give. Full presence. No judgment. A love that asks for nothing except to be near you. They always know. They have always known. And maybe the question worth asking isn't how they do it. Maybe the question is, are we paying the same kind of attention back? That's all for today on Pets In. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next upload.